Chapter 19. Veltheo's Gift and Words of Wisdom. The Queen of the Danes, noble Veltheo, walked through the hall, adorned in gold, graceful and wise, with dignity in her bearing. She looked on her husband, proud King Hrothgar, then turned her gaze to Beowulf the hero. She carried a cup carved with ancient art, filled with shining mead, and offered it to the warrior. Beowulf took it, bowed his head, and listened as the queen spoke. "You have earned our thanks, brave warrior, and friendship of our house. Because of you, Heorot stands safe again. May you find favour among your people, and return to your homeland with honour and treasure. But I ask one thing, noble Beowulf. As you enjoy this peace and glory, remember the future of this kingdom. My sons are still young. If ever their throne is in danger, stand beside them. Be their shield." Beowulf, strong in both might and mind, nodded with solemn respect. He understood the queen's quiet plea, a mother's love, and a queen's foresight. Then Veltheo went to her sons, gave them tokens of kinship, and prayed silently that they would, one day, rule with justice and courage. She turned again to Hrothgar and said, "Let joy fill the hall while we have peace. But be wise in all things, keep your word, honour the brave, and guard our sons with care." The nights passed in calm and comfort. The feast went on, lit by golden fire, and songs were sung of great deeds, of heroes past and present. And as the moon rose high, the Danes and Geats rested once more, untroubled, under the roof of Heorot, a hall once haunted, but now filled with light. Chapter 20. Grendel's mother strikes. But peace does not always last. Though Grendel was dead and gone, his blood still flowed in the dark places of the world, and grief has a way of calling out for vengeance. Deep beneath a shadowed lake, in a cave far from the sight of men, Grendel's mother, a creature of hate and hunger, heard of her son's death. Fury rose in her heart like black fire. She had no words, no tears, only wrath. That night, while the hall lay quiet in sleep, she crept through the silence, as her son once had, moving with the cold stealth of a storm cloud. No watchman saw her until it was too late. The great hall stirred with shouts and steel, as men leapt from their beds, but she was already gone, vanished into the dark, dragging a body behind her. Heorot, Hrothgar's trusted thane, wise in counsel and fierce in battle, was taken, slain by the she-monster, her claws soaked in vengeance. Morning came with heavy grief. The king's face was grey with sorrow. He stood in Heorot, no longer shining with joy. "Hear me, Beowulf," Hrothgar said. "Once again we are wounded. Another evil stalks our land, one tied by blood to the beast you slew. A mother mourning her monstrous son has struck at the heart of our people. Heorot is gone, my dearest comrade. You must help us once more, if you have courage still. Follow her trail into the moor, into the depths of the earth where she hides, and bring justice once again." And Beowulf, never one to shrink from a task, answered the king with steady voice. "She will not escape. I will go after her, even into the blackest water. Let her find no peace in her hiding place. She will pay for what she has done." The Danes readied themselves, the Geats sharpened their blades. The hunt had begun, not for glory this time, but to settle a grim debt, written in blood. Chapter 21. Into the Mere. The morning mist clung to the earth, as Hrothgar led Beowulf and his men to the edge of the wild, shadowed moor. The land grew twisted, the trees more cruel, no birds sang, no animals stirred, a stillness hung over it like a curse. At last they came to the cursed mere, a black lake that steamed with evil. Its surface bubbled with blood and slime. Even the wind seemed afraid to cross it. There they found a sharer's head, set on a rock by the water's edge. A final insult from the she-monster. The warriors turned away in anger and grief. Beowulf, undaunted, studied the lake. Strange beasts swam just below the surface, snakes and serpents twisting in the depths. But his resolve never wavered. He turned to Hrothgar and said, "Let me do this, my lord. You have known grief enough. If I do not return, speak well of me. Send my treasures home to my king Hygelac. Tell him I fought as I swore I would." Then he prepared for battle. His sword Hrunting was given to him, an ancient blade with iron edge. Forged in flame and trusted in war. Unferth, who once doubted him, gave it freely now, a gift of honour. Beowulf dressed in his war gear, chainmail that shone like scales of silver, a helmet crested with boar figures to ward off death. He stepped into the water. The lake pulled him down with icy fingers, dragging him into the dark. He sank through the blackness for hours, deeper than any man had ever gone. Monsters stirred. One reached for him, a slimy shape with teeth like stone. But his mailcoat turned the bite aside. Still he fell, falling like a stone, until at last he touched the bottom, and stood in a cavern of water and bone. There she waited, Grendel's mother, a creature born of ancient hate. She lunged at him, her claws sharp, but Beowulf stood ready, and the battle began. Chapter 22. Battle in the Deep. In the dark depths of that shadowed lake, Beowulf stood face to face with the monster's mother. She struck like a storm, claws flashing, but his armour held. The mailcoat, forged by skilled hands, kept him safe. Still, she was strong, stronger than any human. She seized him in her grip and dragged him through her watery hall. A cave beneath the lake, where no light could reach. There the water did not flow, a cursed, airless place, lit only by the glow of strange fire. There the warrior found himself alone, his sword, Hrunting, gleaming in his hand. He swung it hard, a mighty blow, meant to end the monster's life, but the blade failed him. It struck her hide and bounced away, powerless against her cursed flesh. Fury rose in Beowulf's chest. He tossed the sword aside and fought with his hands as he had with Grendel. The she-monster closed in, claws slashing, jaws snapping. They struggled across the cavern floor, crashing into bones of beasts long dead. She threw him down and drew her knife, a jagged blade meant to pierce his heart. But again, his armour saved him. The woven steel of his mail shirt turned aside the death blow. Then, as if guided by fate, his eyes fell upon a sword, massive, ancient, forged by giants in a time before men. It hung on the wall of the cave, heavy with old power. Beowulf seized it and swung. The sword sang through the air and struck the monster's neck. It cut deep, bone, flesh and spirit, and she fell dead at his feet. The cavern stilled. No more shadows moved. The sword burned with light, as if its purpose had been fulfilled. Beowulf stood victorious. He turned to where Grendel's body lay, a lifeless heap in the corner of the cave. In silence, he raised the giant blade and struck off the monster's head. Then, as if the lake itself felt the blow, the water began to clear. The cursed magic was broken. Above on the surface, the Danes saw blood rise and feared the worst. They thought their hero was dead and began to return to Heorot, their hearts heavy. But the Geats remained, Beowulf's men, true and loyal. They kept watch, hoping against hope. And far below, their leader began to rise, carrying the head of Grendel and the sword hilt of the giants, proof of his triumph in the black heart of the world. Chapter 23. The hero returns. From the dark lake's depths, Beowulf rose. The water no longer boiled with curses, but calm, as if evil itself had been drowned. In his hand he carried 2 trophies. The hilt of the giant's sword, its blade had melted in the monster's blood, and the severed head of Grendel, bloated and foul, yet proof of victory. He swam to the surface and his men saw him, breaking through the water like a god of war. They rushed to him with cheers, pulling him ashore, thanking fate. They marvelled at the head. It took 4 men to carry it, the hilt too gleaming with runes and secrets, etched long ago by hands now dust. Together the Geats returned to Heorot. The road back was brighter, the air lighter, as if the land itself felt relief. In the hall, Hrothgar waited, heavy with mourning, but hoping still. When Beowulf entered, bearing the signs of his battle, the king stood tall, and joy returned to his face. The head of Grendel was laid before them, a final end to the fear. The hilt was offered to Hrothgar, a gift of power and memory. The king held it in both hands and spoke. "This is no common sword hilt. The markings tell of ancient war, of giants destroyed by the flood, punished by the gods for their pride. You, Beowulf, are blessed with strength and the wisdom to wield it well. You are more than a warrior, you are a protector of peace, a man who acts with honour, even when no song will sing of it." Then Hrothgar turned solemn. "Beware the trap of pride, hero. Strength fades, time takes all. Do good while you can, before death claims your light. I have ruled for many winters, fought many battles, buried many friends. What remains is not gold or fame, but the memory of deeds done rightly." Beowulf listened, the words sinking deep. The fire in him did not fade, but it was tempered now by thought. The feast resumed, richer than before, for now the Danes celebrated peace, earned not by chance, but by courage, and Beowulf, though honoured with gifts, kept his heart steady, for he knew the world was wide, and evil never rests for long.